So this is a nice little exercise just to start developing a little bit of lower trapezius awareness and some sort of strengthening through some of the external rotators of the shoulder. They're kind of a coupled movement. So when the lower trap kicks in as like this depressor and sort of posterior tilter of the scap, we also see a co-contraction of the external rotators of the shoulder. And for a lot of people, there's a bit of a disconnect between those two and get them to work together. It's that kind of like right now, one's tapping the head and the other one's rubbing the tummy, and we want them to kind of both tap. And this will help sort of achieve starting to build that sort of overhead capacity, getting back into overhead movement. And you start off with no weight and then eventually progress to using some weight. And I wouldn't load this up massively. At some point, you're going to progress into like a harder exercise. And we have some videos for that. You might see them like an overhead lower trap or like a lower trap raise where you're face down on a 45-degree bench and you've got some dumbbells and you're lifting up like this, kind of your Ys. But that might be too difficult of a movement to begin with. So this is a good place to start. So there'll be some subtleties here, but enough that you can kind of pick up on the camera. It's not too complex, so we'll talk through it. First one is that my head is going to rest down on the ground here. It's okay if we get a little bit of sort of back of the neck co-contraction and kicking in a little bit, but we're trying not to let the upper trap stabilize the whole movement. And a lot of the time people get upper trap tightness just because they're trying to stabilize their shoulder blade with only that muscle. We just want to spread the load a little bit down into your middle and lower traps. So what do the lower traps do? They depress and they posterior tilt. So we want to do that movement first. So if I come down and you can see my shoulders are up, and I'll just pull my head a little bit away for the video so the microphone doesn't get smashed. But I want you to pull the shoulder blades down like that. So that's the first part of the movement. So instead of them being up like this to try and do the movement, see I can't even get my hands that high off the ground, I'm going to pull them back, and now I can get my hands really high off the ground. So I'll do a couple movements with my face down. So I depress first, and then I'm going to bring my thumbs up towards the ceiling. So it looks like this. And depress, and then lifting up. Like this. My elbows are a little bit higher than my shoulder, so you can see that they're forward of my shoulder. I'm not down here. I'm up above my head a little bit. If you find that this is a bit painful on the shoulder, just being in this position, definitely let your head just rest on the ground. If you can't open up your shoulder, as in you can't open up this way, then we've got some other versions that you can work on. If you find that this position is comfortable though, and you're finding that with your hands it's not really that challenging, you can add a little bit of weight in. So I've got 1.25 kilos here. And same thing, I'm gonna hold them in such a way that my thumbs are still gonna point up towards the ceiling, and we'll do a few reps. So first I depress my shoulder blades. So if I'm not sure how to do that, I will bring them up to my ears first, and then I will pull them down. Once they're down, I'm gonna keep them there as I try and lift the weights off the ground. So it looks like this. And down, and then lifting up. I'm going to go for quite a few reps here. Maybe anywhere upwards of 10 plus, maybe even 15. And that's just because we're trying to develop a better sense of awareness. And you might find that the more reps you do, you start to feel some fatigue in some different areas of your shoulder. Try always to not hold your breath. Choose a weight that enables you to maybe get a few reps out with one exhale, so I can breathe in, and then I can get 3 reps out maybe with one exhale. If you start to notice that one shoulder starts to elevate a bit, come up towards your ear, you're probably going to notice that the weight also doesn't get higher. So on this left hand, you can see that if I depress, I can get the weight this high. And if I elevate, I can only get the weight that high. So that might be the clue, the weight not getting higher, if you're not aware of your shoulder blade position. So start with this. Maybe build anywhere up to about maybe 3 or 4 kilo. Try and get some fatigue, anywhere of like 2 to 3 sets of 15. A couple times a week should be enough. And then progress into some more challenging exercises, positions that enable you then to get into heavier weights, so greater ranges of motion. We don't want to stay just here. We want to lengthen that muscle so we get full range of movement and strength throughout that movement, which will enable us to control our shoulders better in space as we sort of move weight or throw balls. So give this guy a little go and see if you like it.